long-term care beds. By the time we change with building our supportive living beds instead and having these different opportunities, we will have gone down just about, 75%. We're probably down about 50% now. So we can pretty well pick at the system anywhere we want, but if you take a look sort of like the spectrum, we're to start where we want to go from the prevention to primary care to specialty clinic, emergency or inpatient care or an outflow. We've been having, going through learning sessions with Dr. Mark Murray and Mike Davies from the VA, and they've been we're learning the principles of advanced access, as well as we've been doing hospital flow, and in the hospital flow, looking at those things, the outflow, the inflow, the throughputs, the inputs, and all the different puts as you try to get them together, and getting the involvement of all the clinicians at every level. So the things they teach are we have to look at the supply and the demand, the cues, the variations, how you use your people, and how you increase the supply with decreased cost or same cost, and how you do these things. And I'd like to speak to how some of these were done today. But the one that I think singularly has made the biggest difference is in continuing care. Nothing has made a bigger difference to acute care in our region than what we've done in continuing care. So maybe I could ask who here today represents that continuing care world, which is supportive living, home care. Okay, so not that many. The thrill of my life was when we had the chief of surgery go, after we had made some changes in supportive living, go to the board, and rather than demand for another CT scan or operating room or whatever, just demand that if you guys don't build another supportive living place like the administration wants, you're really missing out. And I thought, we finally have got it through, and we have the surgeons being our best advocates for taking care and building supportive living, because they realized that the reason that they were being able to trade their wares and to do the job that they wanted to do is because we had the appropriate number of supportive living places. And so we had to do some convincing to convince the board that it doesn't make sense. And I heard someone here this morning say, the worry is if you kind of build them, they will come, rather than say we should build the right thing, and then we should make sure that we use that right thing appropriately. And so the mentality's always been, well, if we don't have enough of this, we'll squeeze them out because they'll never get through emergency and the medical wards. But somehow that doesn't work, because then what we end up in the medical wards is a lot of people that are inappropriately there because there's no appropriate place for them to be. And as a physician, if you can show me that there's an appropriate place for my patient to go, then I'm happy with that. But if there's not, I'm going to be the world's best advocate for my physician and family to make sure that they stay where it's safe. The trouble is, in my mind, I thought that the acute care ward was safe, and turns out that maybe it's one of the least safe places in the universe that they could stay, but I didn't know that then when I was still practicing. And part of the other part is that we want to maintain an individual's independence as long as possible. And we can talk about that more if we have a chance. It all started in a lodge program. In Alberta, we have a seniors housing program that's supported by the government. And where it started when people were 65 years of age, it turned out that over the years what happened is these people lived there, and the average age in a seniors lodge is I think 87. The average age in our long-term care was 83. So there were some pretty needy people in the long-term care. And where initially they could play golf, now they needed medication assistance and on and all their needs. So what we had our home care going in sort of helter-skelter, setting up personal care help for these folks, and we wondered if we could get more organized. It started out with just a day program, which I won't get into today, but it developed, well, let me read this first. Enhanced Lodge is a program of senior citizens lodges that provides service beyond that of a regular lodge. 24-hour personal care and services are provided by on-site personal care workers to a select group of residents based on their needs assessed. Eligibility for the program is determined by the assessment of a community care, home care registered nurse through the coordinated access process. So everyone in the world before that used to get into long-term care, I'm not sure what you now call it in Ontario, facility care, what would you call it? Long-term care, same. Okay, in BC they have a different name. But everyone that goes through has to go through central access. So there is a gateway into the system. But even though they go into this world of the long-term care, do they all need to be there? So we did a couple of studies, and one of the first studies that we did is we had our geriatricians take a look, and we found that about 70% of those people that were going into long-term care didn't really need to if they didn't have to. We did another one, and we took our heaviest level, and we're one of the very oldest regions in Alberta, where the average in Alberta for people over 65 in a region, I think, was 9.6%, being quite young. Ours was pushing 14%, because it's a little warmer down in the south, I guess. And so we were, where the 9% of Albertans took 36 or 39% of the budget, 14% of seniors over 75 take like 52, 56% of the budget. So we really had to start to make some changes in how to deal with seniors a lot faster than the rest of the province. So we took our heaviest long-term care institution, and we had the nurses themselves say, well, how many of these people do you really need to see every day, even every month? Well, they figured if a person was stable, over half of them were fine if they just had a care plan. They didn't need to be checked every month. What about every week? Well, then that brought it up to about 85% or 90-something%. Who needs to be seen every day because they need an assessment? Out of a nursing home of 200 people, there were 8. So we thought, what are we doing? And we also knew that people that were placed in that kind of dependent situation actually failed faster. So outside of Lethbridge in cowboy land, about 20 miles away because of a big cattle area, there's a little community that's not the most sought after, and they had a lodge, but they had 20 empty beds. We had 60 people in our regional hospital that didn't need to be there, that were the ALCs, and they had 20 beds. Could we work something out with them that if we staffed them, 2 workers in the day shift, 2 in the evening shift, 1 in the night shift, so they had people around the clock? I wonder what type of people they could take care of. At least they could take care of some of the easy people that were going to long-term care. Let's give it a try. So we did. And so with these empty beds, we placed, interestingly, 16 out of the first 20 people that went into that community lodge that we had kind of helped with paying for the staff, did very well. And they were all people that had been assessed that would have gone to long-term care.